jumping anybody, so make your choice right.
Select to make your first pick. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Choose and pick the best one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If the Admirals were pirates, just how high would their bounties be? Well, this was a question I asked the community a couple days ago or weeks ago, and I got some various results, but most people seem to believe that all the Admirals were around a certain level. Bounties are definitely the most fun thing to speculate and talk about in the One Piece world because everyone loves numbers and they're the closest thing to power levels in One Piece, although it doesn't really gauge how powerful a character is, but how dangerous they are to the world. Also, if you could be so kind and also hit this video with a thumbs up and hit that share and subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Because no character has a bounty between 2.5 to 3.9 billion, and we have no idea what is accounted for to have that level of bounty, and because Blackbeard's bounty is a clear indication to show that his is a low requirement to become an emperor, well, Luffy's too, but whatever. But also keep in mind that they're considered an emperor not because of their bounty, but also because of territory and allies that they possess. And although Blackbeard has the lowest bounty for a Yonko, he did only become a Yonko just a year ago and has only been active as a pirate captain for about 2 years. Give him some time and he too would also reach 4 billion as well. The reason I'm explaining this is because many people believe that admirals are above first division commanders but weaker than emperors, and if you look at all the original emperors, their bounties range from 4 billion to 5 billion. So if you assume that the admirals are just one step lower than Yonko, so people believe if admirals had a bounty, they'd be in the range of 2.5 to 4 billion. And if you look at it like that, it does kind of make a bit of sense. But also, the power of an admiral is about island level threat, and you're probably thinking, what does that mean? Well, we've seen through several instances through the story that an admiral's power can affect an entire country or island. So let's start with Fujitora. Well, in this case, Isho Fujitora will be his epithet. One thing we know, of course, just like all admirals, he is an island level threat, able to summon meteors whenever he chooses to, and summoning rubble of the entire country into the air and slamming it on multiple pirate ships. Fujitora is a beast. He is able to fight on par with the second strongest or second in command of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo, at multiple times. Going based off his character, unlike other pirates, Isho would most definitely fight directly against the world government because he thinks of them as corrupt and doesn't agree with their methods. He's already doing that now as an admiral, going against them and disobeying orders, trying to abolish the warlord system, and doing things because he thinks that is the true justice. He's also very reckless and very rash, doing things just to test his power, like summoning meteors and causing a whole lot of destruction around him. He really is a danger to himself and the people around him. So I think a bounty ranging between 2.1 and 2.5 billion is perfectly fine for Isho, because he's not as strong as the other admirals because they have a lot more experience, and Isho is actually rather new to the game. So just like that, I think he'd be more a part of the worst generation of pirates, where he'd be active before, but he's making more of a splash in the last 2 years. And now let's talk about Kizaru real quick, aka Borsalino. A lot of people assume he'd be laid back and really wouldn't do much to gain a high bounty, but you gotta understand that he takes traits from both of his colleagues, Aokiji and Akainu. He gets his laid back attitude from Aokiji, but he gets his relentlessness and ruthlessness from probably his best friend Akainu. Kizaru is a very reckless person, causing damage all across the island and destroying cities just to get his target, and his curiosity does get the best of him at times. He is very playful, but that's what makes him so dangerous. He's a very unpredictable person that can go toe to toe with the best of them. We saw him fight with Marco and even the former right hand man to Goldie Roger, the Pirate King. He fought and defeated 4 supernova captains simultaneously, quick, fast, and in a hurry, and he was so mad that he wasn't able to capture his target that he went and captured and defeated 500 pirates. He would be a pirate that would just want to sail peacefully and freely while taking out anyone that got in his way. He is a member of the original monster trio, Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, who all came into the Marines at the exact same time, and they were all monsters. So as a pirate, he would be making waves throughout the decades, causing destruction where wherever he went. So I think a bounty of 3.1 to maybe 3.4 billion for Kizaru is perfectly suited for him just because of how unpredictable and how much of a monster he is. Now let's talk about Kuzan, aka the Ice Pheasant. Well, he's already dabbling in the pirate territory by allying himself with the Blackbeard pirates, so it's not really hard to assume how his life would be if he were a pirate himself. If he was a pirate captain, he'd probably dabble in the underworld a little bit, getting some weapons and some information about what's going on in the world as well as the world government. What makes Kuzan very dangerous in the world of One Piece is due to his abilities of controlling, manipulating, and generating ice, because in One Piece, their planet is mostly, or at least 80% filled of water and sea, and we've seen Kuzan freeze giant bodies of water, the 2 tsunamis that Whitebeard created, and summoning ice from one island all the way to a next island when he first met the Straw Hats trying to save the civilians, and during the flashback of Robin when he got Robin to safety. Wherever there is water, his ice could surely reach, and Aokiji loves to end his fights quick, fast, in a hurry, trying to find ways to end it in an instant. He has no issue making alliances if it benefits him or his goal, as we've seen with Blackbeard and his pirates. Kuzan would probably gain quite a lot of allies, as seen as he had people gravitating towards him into becoming the fleet admiral, so if he was a pirate, he'd probably have a lot of allies, maybe gaining some territory. He's definitely a character that's powerful enough and has the potential to hold the seat of an emperor, but looking at him, he'd probably also want to become a warlord so he can freeze his bounty and do things that he wants while being protected by the world government. Because he is one of the most strongest people in the world and holds a lot of potential and danger, I think him sitting at a bounty between 3.4 to 3.6 is befitting for Kuzan. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, he shouldn't have a high bounty because of how chill he is and laid back, but there's characters like Shanks who's pretty chill and laid back, but he does have himself a very high bounty, one of the highest bounties in the series, in fact, sitting at 4 billion. Now let's talk about the exact opposite, Sakazuki, aka the Red Dog Akainu. He would easily be the most violent pirate in history. His motif is absolute justice, so if he was a pirate, it'd probably be absolute violence. He would try to overthrow the world government and destroy the Marines while trying to become the most strongest pirate in history. He has, according to Oda, one of the strongest and most dangerous offensive destructive devil fruit, alongside the Guru Guru no Mi. Akainu is a dangerous threat, and it's really his determination and devotion that really sets him apart from the other admirals. He is truly the Terminator of the One Piece world. He will do whatever he can to get what he wants. He's also rather intelligent, strategic, and very manipulative for a character like him, as he was the one who orchestrated Squadro into betraying Whitebeard and stabbing him in the gut, and also coerced Ace into staying and fighting him, which ultimately led to his death. Seeing as how when he became Fleet Admiral, he moved the Navy HQ into the New World to gain some more territory for the Marines and get a better handle of it, as a pirate, he would most definitely get some territory and a lot of allies through fear and power alone. He would most definitely be a candidate for an emperor as well. He had the best showing in Marineford War, doing the most damage and ripping half of Whitebeard's face while putting 2 holes in his chest. He also went up against all of the division commanders plus Crocodile at one point. And most importantly, he defeated another admiral, Aokiji, after a 10-day long battle, proving that he's stronger than your average admiral, becoming a fleet admiral. So I believe Akainu would have the highest bounty of the admirals, gaining him a bounty ranging between 3.8 and 4.2 billion. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, how is he in the Yonko zone or higher than Shanks? Well, you gotta understand that this is not just based off strength, but actually based off danger and threat, and Akainu as a pirate would absolutely be a most dangerous threat to the world government. Because he's fleet admiral and he's leading the Marines, in a sense, if you want to make it where he's a pirate and the Marines are pirates instead, then you can say that the 3 admirals right now would be his 3 commanders, giving him a very powerful crew if you want to look at it in that sense. With Kizaru being his right hand because they knew each other from way back in the North Blue and they joined the Marines together. Real quick, because I know a couple people in the comments are going to say, but Oda himself said that if Akainu was the main protagonist, the story would end in just 1 year and he'd find the One Piece already. I think that was more in comparison to Luffy's growth, because Luffy still has to grow and get stronger, while Akainu's already such a powerful and experienced fighter and is a lot easier to write as a protagonist and would end the story a lot quicker. And real quick, before we end, there are actually 2 other Marines I'd like to discuss before we end this video, and that is the legendary Marine Sengoku and Garp, because they are spoken in the same breath as Whitebeard and Roger as these legendary figures and being very powerful and probably one of the most powerful during their times. I think they'd have a bounty close towards those two legends, Whitebeard and Roger. Where first I think Sengoku, because he has a very mythical devil fruit and is probably one of the most smartest marines there is, and his strategy and being able to make plans here and there as seen in Marineford War, I think he'd have a bounty of 4.8 billion, being because he is a very legendary figure, has a lot of expertise and is very experienced and has very good knowledge of the world around him, and because he's very powerful, as well as being the only known marine that has Conqueror's Haki. And as for Garp, he would probably have a bounty of 5 billion because he's always compared to characters like Roger and was able, alongside Roger, to defeat Roxy Zebek, who's said to be the strongest person that has ever gotten in the way of Goldie Roger. And to add more evidence of this, back when Roger clashed with Whitebeard, he was fighting Marines beforehand and said, if you're gonna fight me, at least bring Sengoku and Garp to come against me, specifically stating those two, putting them on a higher standard than any other marine. Because he is a free-spirited character doing whatever he wants, his parkour will be similar to Luffy, where he's going up against the grain and wanting to be more free. He'd also go up against the world government a lot more actively because of his dislike towards the celestial dragons. And because of his legendary status, you could even make the case that if Garp was a pirate instead, maybe it would be him that have found the One Piece and right now be considered the Pirate King.